What are your guys' rules considering profanity?
Oh, swear it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because
No.
I got a potty mouth.
As do I.
Motherfucking noise.
Yeah.
Snoogans.
Oh, yeah. Welcome, everyone, to the Unorthodox Film Podcast, where we discuss movies that meet specific genres, topics, or scenarios, and we recommend movies that we enjoy in hopes that we introduce our listeners to movies that they haven't seen or heard of. With our guests, we discuss movies that we have seen before and engage in conversation based on our memory and recollection of our enjoyment of those titles. At the end of each episode, we roll a dice and select one of the recommended titles to watch together. We will then discuss that film on our next episode with fresh eyes and determine whether the film still holds up, as well as explore the film in a more detailed and critical discussion. I am Bradford Clark, and with me is my co-host Joseph Quick. Say hi, Joe.
What up, y'all?
And tonight our guest is writer-director Austin Torres. Austin, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So last time on our show, we made recommendations for psychological thrillers with Jazar Riches, and randomly we selected The Perfect Host from 2010.
Oh, man.
So we're going to start our show today talking about that. And then later on, we will be discussing and making recommendations with Austin for movies where man plays God. And I love the topic. Austin
so
brought
good.
that one to us. Austin, could you give us a little bit of a description of what you were thinking of so the listeners kind of have an idea of what type of films we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is movies where, since I was
You
little,
gave an example. There was a.
I can say the example?
Yeah,
Okay.
The quintessential.
I love Frankenstein.
Yeah,
I
it's
think,
my wife's favorite, too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those classic sci-fi horror that
yes.
makes you think. And there's so many movies that kind of take the next step. Or they're just doing Frankenstein again. I think there's a natural progression from there with other movies
for sure.
that we'll talk about.
And, and honestly, Frankenstein is the quintessential because it was the first of its kind. It was the first real science fiction horror movie, and it like Dracula came after that, because it was the vampire that was written around the same time as Frankenstein.
Mary Shelley really made a difference.
But Bram Stoker's didn't come for.
And Bram Stoker wasn't even the first vampire. I don't remember the name of it, but that was a female author as well.
It was the vampire. It was the vampire. And they wrote it in Geneva.
Carmela comes from, I think, from that.
Yeah.
From that.
It started in Geneva, Switzerland.
So,
on a heroin binge acid trip. Not acid, because it was LSD, but they were out of their mind.
There was a whole thing. Yeah, that's actually something interesting to look at. So as far as man playing God, basically what we're looking at is movies where the theme is... in some way, man being human, not necessarily dick and balls. We're talking about human beings taking on the we're going to elevate nature,
the creator role.
Yes, exactly. Stepping into what is evolution or standard life and fucking with it.
And I wanted to do it
for better or for worse.
I wanted to do a bit more than the mad scientist trope.
Yep.
Because I think there's a certain arrogance when you're trying to play God. And I think that's fun to talk about.
I agree. And that's kind of what some of the things that I was looking for. Like what is a little bit different about this as far as was it innocent? Was it wicked? What was the intent behind what it is happening? And was it good intent that went awry and or bad intent that of course went awry? So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit later. But first,
either way, there will be ruining of days.
Yes, you will rue the day. We're gonna start by talking about The Perfect Host with David Hyde Pierce. I didn't catch the name of the other guy. It was basically a movie with two characters. It was my first time seeing it. I believe this was Jazar's recommendation.
It was Jazar's recommendation.
But Joe, you've seen it before?
I have seen it, but back when it first came out.
So on this, was this close to a fresh watch for you then?
Yeah. I mean, I knew like going in that it was
plot points.
It was twisted like it is, but I had forgotten just how crazy this motherfucker was.
Yeah.
And how goofy. Like there were moments that all three of us were laughing out loud. Like this is a dark comedy, but it does not advertise as a comedy at all.
So IMDb listed as dark comedy first. It's dark comedy, crime thriller, and crime thriller is definitely where I would put it. I wouldn't even like. You know what? Before, real quick, I got to do our little disclaimer. We are going to be spoiling the fuck out of this movie.
Out of this motherfucker.
If you didn't take the time to watch it, it is presently as of recording on HBO Max and I think Hoopla, a couple of the free channels. And it's very much worth watching, but we will be talking about plot points in detail. So skip ahead about 20-25 minutes and check back in with us for the list.
Because I'm about to spoil the shit
go ahead.
right now.
I had to stop it right there.
Like how schizophrenic he is and all these alternate personalities that he has like to a T, these people. And he's like walking around the dining room table and then commenting on their character of how he ate the food. Like,
what I thought was, you got to grab a handful real quick. And you were famished. What I loved about this, and I don't know if I said, but this was my first time. I thought I'd seen it before, but after watching it, I'm like, I definitely haven't. But I feel like I had, and maybe I just forgot it all. And your first watch for you as well? You had said when you got here,
I never seen it. I never heard of it. This was completely brand new to me. Mm-hmm. When I found out we were going to watch it, I was like, I don't know what that is. I was about to Google search. I was like, actually, I'm not going to do any of that.
Are you happier that you went that way?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm same. I feel like had I looked into it a little more and they probably would have discussed like we're about to discuss, and it would have changed my experience on it. So I do want to talk about what Joe had just mentioned.
It popped up for me like 2 days ago. Just I was looking for stuff and I was like, I want to watch that, but I shouldn't. And I had it didn't even occur to me that we're watching that today.
Yeah. The schizophrenia and the multiple personality or whatever it is, because they never really say, but you clear. But what I like about it is everything, all the details of the movie, every character is slowly relinquished to you all the way. Yeah. You know, like the postcard. And so that means, had we known that ahead of time, we'd have known that David Hyde Pierce, our Warwick's character, is fucked up.
Yeah,
right?
He writes the postcards himself as
But
bait
you also
for
might think that he would then be aware that John is lying to him, but he's not, because he fully believes in everything. Like, what do you mean I'm Julia? I'm not Julia. as he's physically writing the letter, is it denial or is it
he's nuts. Like,
right.
It's that part of his brain, like writing the letter and sending it to himself.
Yeah. So I thought the writing and the pacing of how everything built up, because even for me, I couldn't really decide who you wanted to root for.
Yeah, and then because they don't reveal that the actual bad guy is kind of Hyde Pierce, and the guy that's there is actually just a guy. Like, he's a thief because this woman talked him into she lied and said that she was sick with like some kind of disease that was
piercing her. She couldn't move. He's like, can you even make it to work tomorrow? She just manipulated the fuck out of him.
Yeah, it was so nuts, dude. Yeah, but then you realize he's just this sappy guy who was just trying to do something for romance.
A previous criminal. He did, but you don't know the story there either.
Right.
I guess. Right. So, with what we know about him.
No matter how good he was at chess, he was a shitty strategist, because he didn't see that coming at all.
No, but I like the chess tie-in, which didn't come in until the end. It's not like chess was placed in front of us throughout the entire movie.
No, it was subtle. It was good.
And it was right then when you started to learn a little bit more about him. But so the movie opens with him escaping we never actually find out what happens to his foot. That just dawned on me. Did we? Did I miss that?
Remember he cauterized it shut with the poker?
I don't mean that.
No.
How did it get damaged in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, he was running and shit. I don't know. Like,
that's what I'm saying. We can make assumptions. You're making assumptions. We didn't see definitively.
The movie basically opens up.
You don't even know with him knowing. Yeah, the foot is after the robbery, after the liquor store robbery. Then you find, because that's or right before. You find it looks like a bullet hole. It looks like a bullet hole.
He's in the liquor store to get the disinfectant and the gauze and shit.
Yeah.
And that was a great scene too.
I was getting to that. So let's talk about that opening scene. I thought that opening scene, connect it to who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, right? You still don't know what he's done. You find out in that scene that he's wanted,
as
right?
he's running.
Right. But he also, of his own volition, makes the choice to try and stop the robbery, right?
Yeah.
Or at least just like she got away with the money, but like let's not kill people and this and that. He more or less helped in his own weird way.
Well, she also brought him into it too, because he was content to
he
just
even
hide
gave her his wallet. Yeah, he was hiding in the back, and then she said, "Give me your wallet."
Get over here, give me your. And it's fine. I'll do it.
Yeah.
So.
But then she got pushy, like drop your shit that you need on the floor. He's like, it's the last bottle. Fuck you.
Yeah, she started going on an ego trip right there, and he's like,
when he dropped it, she got distracted by something. He fucking pulled his gun on her. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not the only one with a gun.
Yeah,
because she did say, I got a gun.
Well,
it doesn't matter if you have a gun if you're not going to pull a trigger.
It was a fairly long scene too, not overwhelmingly long, but for an opening liquor store scene, it had context to it. We learned a lot in that time. We got a chance to see him, and we learned he was running away. It was a good way.
The cops already knew who he was, even though he was still on the line.
Right. So he was learning stuff about himself, like, oh shit, they identified me.
That it was her that betrayed him until the radio later when he was
And I think it establishes the tone of the movie so well. Like it could have been like its own short film.
Yeah,
that went into and it kind of is in a way.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely see an arc there, and I mean, if it were short, there's probably a different conclusion, but it definitely set the tone, as you said, including the comedy. That store clerk, like it's a tense. Robbery is never a happy situation for anybody. No. So even as a viewer, you're supposed to know this is shitty for them.
Yeah,
but he's like, paper plastic. He's fucking with it.
Brings the money out, slaps it on the counter. She's like, put it in a bag. Paper or plastic.
Yeah.
And then when he gets the gun at the end, he's like, get the fuck out of my store.
It's like
who's going to clean that up?
Not his first rodeo.
And he drops the bottle. Who's paying for that?
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So then John starts making his way through the neighborhood, and we as viewers are still trying to figure, like, obviously we know now that he's on the lam. We don't know exactly what, bank robbery. But as a viewer, I was still asking questions like, the foot, what happened to the fucking foot?
We don't know why the foot, but that's why he goes door to door, because he's just looking for disinfectant and a bandage.
Correct.
So that's the motivation
we meet
there.
David Hyde Pierce, and we get to the entire movement of the film.
Yeah, dude. Because you think he's preparing dinner for this dinner party,
right?
And it's believable. Like he's
got a goose going.
Yeah, he's got all this and he's going at it, dude.
I've made dinner for myself, and I don't do presentation. I don't. You know what I mean? Like you just make the food for
4-star Michelin chef in this shit.
Yeah, he had appetizers. He brought out the carrots and the dip. It was a whole ordeal.
Now, do you like wine? White or red?
Fabulous.
Fabulous. That little sway he had too with his hands and the hips.
I was just going to say, so David Hyde Pierce.
He was gliding like a dancer.
David Hyde Pierce, who was, I think, mostly known for being Frasier's brother Nigel on the show Frasier. I don't think he ever showed up in Cheers. I think he was just a Seattle exclusive.
Yeah, I don't think so. It could have been, but I'm not that familiar with Cheers. He's also really known for voicing.
He's done voice acting and stuff.
A lot of stuff, but mainly Hellboy, the underwater creature.
Oh yeah,
he does the voice of that while Doug Jones is the body.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and the Ron Perlman Hellboys.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
So his performance, which is weird because now that I think about watching his body movement, he probably could have done some interesting body movements. Right, not that Doug Jones, Doug Jones is the best.
He's
now I want them together.
Skinny too.
Right?
Yeah. They need to be in a movie together.
Right. Come on, Del Toro, get on it.
His his characterization. So, had I watched this back in 2010, I would have been much less knowledgeable about the making of movies. Mm-hmm. And so now, having been on sets and having been through making a movie, watching the dinner sequence going back and forth from John's perspective and Warwick's perspective, what did you guys think about that?
I loved it, and I love how flamboyantly embraceful David Hyde Pierce was of his character in those moments. Yeah, like just seamless, dude. Seamless.
Yeah. For me, all I kept thinking about was, goddamn, okay, because the food, right? Yeah. And you got to shoot. Basically, you shoot the scenes with just the two of them, then you got to shoot it again with the people, or in whatever order, probably the people first, because the continuity of things like his stuffing of the face, but the back and forth reactions of where he was specifically when he, was leaning on somebody's shoulder, because they cut pretty nicely back and forth.
It was seamless.
It was just almost like, the cutting is like a standard over the shoulder type of him, her, or him, whatever, cutting. But when you were seeing it from John's perspective, you saw nobody fucking sitting there. And then when you saw it from Warwick's perspective, like when the place was full of people.
When John finally cut through his ropes and he got up and ran, and he tripped over a chair.
Yes.
And then you cut to Hyde Pierce's view, and it's the girl on the floor had smashed her face. And then we come back, and he's icing her cheek. And
then when he's looking at her, he's just holding
the ice in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yes.
It was so good, dude.
I don't want to jump around too much, but while we're on that topic, I gotta say, a little bit later in the movie, there's this fantastic musical number to Car Wash.
Yes.
And that might be my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah, sure.
It's for real, dude. Because you see the whole party, and he's dancing on the table in the middle of it. But then you cut to it's just him dancing, thrusting
Not
his
only
head
that, but
straight at John's face.
Leading up to that, so previously he demonstrated that he can just hit a remote and play music in his house. So music is a thing in his house, and he obviously likes to listen to music. However, when the party got jumping and that jazz is ringing out, he's yelling, he's like,
John hears nothing.
There's nothing.
There's no music
There's
actually
literally
playing.
nothing
it's all
playing.
In his head.
It's wild. So that then translates when he does the car wash thing as well, and the edit back and forth between having music and no music, and how often they inserted that was just
lovely dancing. Yeah,
I loved it.
So good, dude.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but in the car wash scene, I think they altered the lighting a little bit between the different perspectives.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
It really did.
Like when
it was the first thing I noticed, because when that frame shot where they were all on the table, whatever, the corners were a lot darker. It was a lot more
thank
control.
You for bringing that up, because that was one of my favorite parts, is what they did in the lighting in his, like, as the party went on, how much more the mood changed in his head than it did. Well, and not to mention,
he continuously drugs John throughout, right? Yes. You never really, he's giving him drinks, so we don't know how much of it is just alcohol, how much of it is continued.
One of them was called the inebriator, and it was neon blue. I'm pretty sure it had Drano or something.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a clear Windex thing.
Like when he coughs, like it tastes like poison.
Yeah.
Like,
but he kept drinking it. He volunteered. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll take it.
Because it was a bargaining chip. Right. Like
he
was playing along.
You already knew what was going on.
He was moving a pawn.
He was like, if you untie me and let me conga, and he's like, you'll be
I'm gonna
unconscious.
take your legs away from you.
Weekend at Bernie's. He's got his feet on his toes and shit. And then he trips and falls and turns over and acts like the whole party's falling on him. Like 20 people pile up.
Yep.
His commitment to the neuroses that his character has was one of the more impressive things I've seen out of an actor in a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
It was fun. He made it fun and funny. Like, I think it was intentional on his part, but like, they weren't going
because he
for
played
funny.
It straight.
Yes,
he played it like this is you're laughing. Like, I felt uncomfortable sometimes laughing. I was like, this is not supposed to be funny. This man is sick. But I'm watching a movie. This is entertainment. I'm gonna fucking laugh.
Yes,
this made me laugh. It's like when someone falls in front of you. Like, okay, are you okay? Okay, now that you're okay.
It was
an
emotional roller coaster. It was. But it was, because you're questioning, why am I laughing at this sick son of a bitch? But it's funny.
And he was sassy.
I've already accepted the fact that I'm dark, okay?
So sassy.
I have no apologies for my laughter. That shit was hilarious.
So, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, he might be sick, but he's got wit. Like, he knows he's funny, too.
And he's smart. Like, he was smart.
Exactly.
And you find at the end when he's taking his half dose, that he's aware of this. Like, he's trying to mildly control it. Like,
and even when the
there's some
detective's on to
enjoyment
him,
to it.
he's playing with him.
Yeah.
He's toying with
him.
him.
He becomes a whole new
Why
character.
don't you come to dinner?
Yeah. Well,
there's a sequel.
when
exactly.
when they're in the car and they're heading towards the perps at the parking lot, him and Simone and John, and he's like, "Oh, fuck those fucking crazy people!" Like he became more of a masculine approach to a character. He became more assertive than he'd been throughout the entire movie. Not that he wasn't in control when he was being the host, but he wasn't assertive to John in any way.
No, he was very effeminate.
Right, and very, very like, oh my God, like I don't want to be intrusive. I'm a good host.
Yeah,
I have to
accommodating.
Accommodating. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, so it's like he's obviously somebody, and with that makeup kit, clearly a fan of theatrics and movies. Something that didn't really
had all those masks and
all those
creature
masks.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
so there's a little bit of backstory there that was only hinted at, but well prepared. Like to have all that stuff there, it gave us clues that the filmmakers know him, but like we only know a little bit.
But the psychological torture, the psychological warfare he was doing on the John character with his little photo album and going through it and showing him that every 3 hours you're going to get more beat up. And then he is, but he wakes up with these cuts on him. Like, what did you do to me while I was asleep?
Right. Yes.
And then he wakes up in the fucking alley and it's just makeup
Prosthetics.
pulling up. And you're like, what?
And they show the kit a little bit later too.
Yeah.
Well, when
you don't see
someone
the
knocked at the door,
So the detective comes to the door, wakes him up
and
early.
he has to put it away.
he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, that's
I wasn't.
just as they're revealing it.
Yeah.
Dude, the editing was seamless.
The storytelling was seamless.
so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
It was so.
And I wasn't expecting
As you
him
know,
to
you
be,
can write it one way and edit it another.
Of course.
It doesn't. They worked together. It was cohesive, and you don't see that enough.
I wasn't expecting him to be a cop either, because when they revealed like the makeup and stuff, I'm thinking if it takes place in L.A. Oh,
Totally
he's
gone.
gonna
He's
be
a lieutenant.
yeah, he's
So,
a lieutenant. I thought he was
questions I
like
have
a
is-
Tom Savini or something.
Right, exactly. That's what I thought. And then he shows up and he's a cop, and I'm like, okay, because like when the cop knocks on the door, I'm like, how did his detective work lead him here? And that's we get the answer, like, hey, Lieutenant.
Just picking me up for work. Sorry, I'm early. You won't believe what happened.
What's wild to me is two things. One, his neighbor obviously doesn't know that he's a cop, because she should just call him for the weird shit instead of calling the
she's the
precinct all
crazy
time. She's a
Becky,
crazy neighbor,
you
yeah.
know.
But second to that is, what are they fucking paying the police in LA? It's a nice fucking house.
Yeah,
well, he's a lieutenant, right?
Yeah, but come on.
No, well, you gotta think, dude. Earlier he says there's all sorts of ways
to make money,
right?
That is
and
true.
He's got all them like cool photographs all over.
Well,
I'm sure
and
he does.
and he stole the dough at the end of the day. That's probably for his mortgage. That's why he's still at work. He didn't just
because he's
And he's probably done
skimming
this
off the
before.
top.
Yeah, there's the implication that he's probably
He's
done this before, but
definitely done it before.
he stumbled upon this one. John knocked on his door. I'm curious about how he's gone about all of his other victims.
He just
being a
leaves-
cop, it's obviously
Probably just leaves the bait in the mailbox. The postcard's bait.
Yeah.
how many people.
Just in case who knows, bro?
I literally think he mails them to himself so he can read those and get letters from Julia.
Probably, but it's also
Why not both?
bait.
How many?
You gotta look at how intelligent this guy was.
No, I
He's
get
so
that.
intelligent
Hold
that
on,
he's
let's
crazy.
discuss this for a minute. You're saying that there are enough people who go through the mail that he can make a hobby
LA?
out of his fetish. They just go through the mail looking for postcards because they need a place to.
No, like
Don't we all do that?
okay, you're making it specific to the movie scenario.
No, how?
Okay.
I asked, how does he get his victims? You proposed
It's a
he
big
leaves
ass
the
house.
postcard.
Maybe somebody's sending a check, or they're looking for packages, whatever. Or, who knows?
That is an option. I don't think he's going to make. I mean, he only had a few guys in the book. Maybe he
No,
only works once every 5
definitely
years.
mailing them to himself so that he has something to
That's
read,
all
so
I'm
he can
saying.
live, so that this iteration of himself, this Julia, because he obviously has some sort of want to be a woman.
Well,
There
so
was
I don't
something
understand.
in
I don't
there
know if it's
about
if
that,
he
like-
actually sees these other, because with multiple personality, you're one character at a time. You're one person at a time. You're one identity at a time.
Yeah, I'm not saying he has
He
DID.
is
That's
seeing
not what I'm
them.
saying.
Yeah, I think it's more of
schizophrenic.
Yeah.
It's not multiple personalities, right? But I think the Julia one, he like ultimately like wants that life. Right. He would rather be a woman who gets to fly around and just have men take care of him and do it. Because
Could be, but
I don't think I could do that.
He tried hitting on several people at that party, and we don't know who he fucked in the bathroom.
Right, yeah, they never show that side of it, which is unfortunate. Not that I want to see sexual,
just to answer that question. Answer that question.
Like,
what was the name of the one imaginary friend who got knocked over?
It was like Charlemagne or
it was
something. It was like all of the names were wild.
To her. I don't remember her name
because he was flirting with her, Chelsea.
Chelsea. I assumed it was her because
I did too because he'd been hitting on her all night.
No, I assumed it was the black one because she was pissed off when he was flirting. That's the blonde one
because he's obviously flirted with her before. That was
the motions. It was a bigger woman.
I don't know about that. His hands were small. That's we'll give you that. I'm not even going to debate that with you.
More like she had some ass there. All right.
The way that the movie was filmed, I think was obviously very well thought out. Not all movies they just shoot.
I'm just saying you don't ride a bony ass the way he was riding that ass.
Are you still on that?
I love
we are. Ayo.
Yeah, just to get that reaction out of you. Okay, thank you. I hope everybody.
Do I have your attention now, or do you got more jokes coming?
I might have one. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
David Hyde Pierce is a lot of what we saw. He played to the camera. He played straight on to the camera. There was a lot of that where he walked in directly to the camera, not necessarily POV because he was at another part of the house where John was here, but
there was a lot of playing with POV from John.
A lot of moving towards the camera, a lot of the camera being voyeuristic without being documented.
Yeah, he would walk straight towards it or straight away from it, and that's like to showcase that glide he had.
That weird walk, I love it.
The hand, it was elegant. Honestly, it was so artful, like and subtle, like. It was subtle.
I don't know if it was subtle. It was because
it grew. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't something I noticed
when he turned into when he turned into the cop, it almost disappeared until he started playing with the detective. Then he started getting
after he answered the door. Yeah. After he answered the door when John first rang the bell, and then he was contemplating whether or not he should let him in. He went to check the food. He peeked in real quick, and he glid over that way. And I noticed then I was like, oh, that's an interesting walk he has.
Yeah.
But it did become more prominent because you see it more throughout the film. But when he did it.
But he played
at
with
the end
it
of the
more
movie.
Too. Yeah,
there was like swagger to it.
Yeah,
there was a little bit of extra bounce that was like prideful because he was like that was his cool guy walking away from explosion moment.
Yes,
right.
The equivalent. Yeah,
everything's blown up behind him, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this. Fuck
dinner,
with me.
8 o'clock.
Fabulous."
Well, I wonder if that's like his real self. And he puts on an act when he's usually at the
police station. 100%.
100%.
He is. Yeah. We saw him most comfortable in his home, and he is putting on a facade when he's at work.
He's throwing a me party.
Yeah,
and everyone's invited.
Yep. he's. I don't know. That's just. I genuinely don't think he has any real connections with real people.
No.
Which is why I think John was able to get over him a couple of times when John started to like, well, what about Julia? And he started to
actually play into it. Yeah.
Right.
Because this is real to him. Because all those are his relationships.
Yes. I started to wonder before I knew what was going on when John made the fake phone call to his fake cousin and just hung up the phone. And then Warwick called about the luggage. Totally thought Warwick did the same thing in that moment. Because I was like, okay, I know this movie's going to get creepy, that the perfect toast is David Hyde Pierce is going to be like flipping the script on us. But is he catching up already?
Oh, yeah.
Because we didn't even really know who Julia was. Was that a girlfriend? Yeah. Was it until the party? And we were like, because is it a daughter? We just don't know.
Don't know.
They both spoke in
kind of code. Like,
yes.
What lesbians like to call the pronoun game. Or at least that's what it's from Chasing Amy. It's a why are you playing the pronoun game? You're not giving us the information because you're fishing to see who's wrong.
Correct.
He was already playing the game.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Could you do that kind of work? No, not at all. They know what work. What?
Right.
Is she a prostitute? Is she a surgeon? Deep sea diver?
It was a more in-depth conversation than he had with the neighbor next door, who was like, "Where's your cross?" and Christmas and everything else. When he said, "Hey, you're a fellow
Jehovah," which there's no cross, there's no Christmas.
Right.
You said you grew up. With one of my aunts was Jehovah's Witness. So
several students I went to school with, and
she always buy me stuff at the weirdest time.
They don't celebrate
do holidays. So
they don't celebrate.
Hey, school starting.
Right.
Here's a calculator. I'm looking for.
So, well, that was the perfect host. I highly recommend it. Austin, what were your thoughts?
I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know of it.
How would you go about recommending it to somebody? Would you? Because you wouldn't want to spoil anything.
No. Well, with movies like this, it depends on who you're recommending it to. I think because not everyone appreciates movies that like to play with the audience.
Yeah.
Some people want a little more straightforward narrative, which is fine. But I think a lot of people who like movies that like to play games, I would recommend that to them.
I'd recommend it to anybody, but like you say, I would do it in a way like what would this person enjoy about this, and tell them that part, but not the rest.
Like I think everyone would like it.
Yeah.
But for different reasons.
I agree. I think that there's it offers something to a lot of different kinds of viewers. You know, if you're looking for something that's going to be a mind game but fun, it's that.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something that's going to give you anxiety and a little bit of tension, it offers that. And because it's not a horror movie, it's definitely a thriller. Right. It's a crime thriller because they're all criminals, but like the crime itself is happening as opposed to figuring out. But then at the same time, a crime had happened, and that's the mystery that you as a viewer are following. So it does leave that, there's all them little breadcrumbs along the way, which I love. I love when stories unfold slowly like that. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you're like, oh, that was cheesy type of thing. You were just holding out it, but this wasn't in any way cheesy, and it was so well executed.
It was kind of a home invasion meets heist movie meets Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. So if you have
because of that, it had that comedy was slapsticky. It was dark, but it was slapstick.
It was ever present
and in your face.
It wasn't like 10 minutes would go by where you weren't laughing.
We was aware of the humor.
We were laughing pretty frequently, and it was
in unison. Like it was like
if you've seen a movie recently, I think it was on Shudder when Joe and I saw it. But if you've ever seen, I think it was called. Was it Passenger? No. Villains.
Villains.
Is that the one with Skarsgård? And if you liked that, I would say Perfect House is good for you.
Yeah.
Have you seen Villains?
I have not.
Recommend it. I don't want to say any more than that because we're tying it together. But
for sure.
If you enjoyed Perfect Toast, you'll enjoy Villains. If you enjoyed Villains, you'll enjoy the Perfect Toast.
There was another one that I remember when Jazar brought this up that I recommended to her, I think after the podcast. Superhost, which
you guys have mentioned
where I saw that one's more like horror-esque, like slashery, but it's in the vein of this. It's really good. It's like an Airbnb host that goes nuts. Yeah.
There's a movie that came out this year. It's kind of like a dark comedy thriller, kind of like this. I think it's called The Last Stop at Yuma County.
Oh yeah,
you seen it?
Yes, I have.
It's so good, and
I've not heard of that one yet.
That's the one I'm thinking of, where it's like I think they have similar tones.
Okay,
this isn't like a psychological thriller in the way this one is. That one's more of like but it's also like a crime thriller that's really darkly funny. That's more of like a like an ensemble.
Okay.
Game.
Yeah.
Like a Hateful Eight almost.
Okay. I think Perfect Toast was a great character study.
Yes.
I think
it was.
It was only the two characters, but it put them in a position to where like we really were interested in who they were, what they were up to. Because again, I was trying to find out who I wanted to.
Immediately invested in which person am I rooting for.
That. Exactly.
They're both a little weird.
Right.
And then the one guy's really weird, but I still don't trust this sketch. He's a criminal, right? But he's really the guy.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I guess
But he is the one you trust. He's a good guy.
Work he didn't really do anything wrong other than drugging the shit out of him because the injuries were fake. He mentally fucks with him, right? He didn't kill the guy. This
is what makes it so perfect, because how many people have just stumbled on his front porch and happened into a dinner party?
Yeah.
Right, perfect host, right? Like they're all fucked in the head, and
but it does leave the question now with
he leaves him out on the street.
With the detective coming,
and then
is he actually going to kill that detective?
But he doesn't. Right? Does he finally take the next step? This is what I said. The perfect fucking sequel.
But does he need to? Because he manipulates and he breaks down these people, and
and then he releases them out in the street, and looking crazy. And then you're going to wander into the police station and see him, and go, "Oh fuck."
Right.
And he took the money from John and still let him go, and gave him like a couple hundy. It was like, hey, you'll need this for the board.
Yeah, I'm loving this.
So it's like he won in the end.
In my mind, we're already writing a sequel to this.
Yeah.
Because he takes the money and runs after he kills the guy.
Well, we're getting
the dinner party murder comes real.
So let's get back on topic.
How did he handle it though? When we follow him to Mexico, he's gonna track John down again.
The cat and mouse game continues.
God, love it.
So, man playing God. Man playing God. We mentioned a book earlier, the Frankenstein book. Again, we're talking about movies that are going to be in some way where the existence of humans have taken it upon themselves, whether individually or as a group, to create or mess with life in some way that was not a part of regular evolution, right? Just regular God life as God intended.
When just one regular Joe thinks he can be the creator.
So we are going to be recommending 12 movies, and that means 4 apiece.
Yo.
Austin, we always offer our guests the opportunity to start our list. Are you okay with that, or would you like one of us to start?
I could start it.
All right. What is your first recommendation for today?
I'll just take the most obvious one off the board. And so we'll start with, one of the most popular movies of all time, and that is Jurassic Park.
On your
Jurassic Park, yeah.
It's got the hoodie on and everything. Yeah. I assumed that was coming up today.
Well, how could it not, right?
Right. Well, so there's one thing we always do, and obviously we're all supposed to come with our list of 4. I usually make a list of 8 to 12 because I can predict,
same.
Four of mine be like, these are ones I think Brad will come up with, but they have to, so if he doesn't, they're honorable mentions. And then I have 4 more that are reserves in case any of you snake my fucking...
I came up with a couple too, but it's we mentioned Frankenstein the book. That's probably, going to be in one of our lists.
And I think most of these choices will have been books before.
Right.
That's a possibility. So let's talk about Jurassic Park. Yeah. Jurassic Park, obviously the Steven Spielberg, known for groundbreaking CGI at its time, and still really holds up today pretty well. Actually, I got a chance to see it in 3D earlier this year. They did a re-release for a weekend or a week or whatever, and honestly, it was because it wasn't filmed in 3D.
No.
So it was that fake 3D, and I went in. I was like, "Oh, well,
pretty good."
It was really good.
I saw
it worked. Did you? Yeah. Okay, yeah, it worked really well. When did you first come across Jurassic Park?
Okay, so Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, okay.
I actually have a story for it, and basically, I don't remember this, but I was 3 years old. My grandma was watching me while my mom was at work, and apparently I found the VHS that we had. My 3-year-old brain was like, dinosaur, I like dinosaurs.
Right.
So I take it, I figure out how to work the VHS, and my grandma's letting it happen because she's thinking
well, there's no way he's going to get this thing to play.
Right. That's a fucking 3-year-old.
Never underestimate a 3-year-old.
But also it's
younger generations always know the technology better than the older.
And do you want to stop that behavior, right?
Right.
Do you want to stop the exploration? So
no,
it's
never.
That's
Not
kind
me.
of a weird thing not a weird thing, but it's that's a little dilemma, right?
Listen, a child will
my
never
grandma
know.
would have totally let me
Yeah.
A child will never know what fire feels like if they don't touch something hot.
Right.
Yeah, and then when you say hot, now
fear.
they know.
You don't have that fear. And I'm not saying you should stick your child's hand in the fire.
No, but the kid's gonna do it, and as long as it's a small thing and not an actual full open flame, let him do it
that
once.
was uncomfortable. Skin's gonna heal, and he's gonna know, I don't want to deal with that no more.
And it's like, oh, the kid knows how to use technology. That's a good thing. You want him to, and if he could do it by himself, it's like, well, you don't want to, But anyways, my mom comes home, and I'm watching Jurassic Park, and she's like, dude, or to my grandma, why is he watching Jurassic Park? He's not potty trained yet. I was smart enough to use a VCR, but not a toilet. So,
well,
listen,
to be fair, you were walking around with the toilet at the time. The diaper, that's what you knew, right?
Yeah.
Once you get cognizant of they're going somewhere else. Like, I don't see them changing.
It's just social etiquette that forces you into not shitting yourself.
Exactly.
Because for a while you're okay with it.
But my mom's like, well, none of the scary stuff has happened yet. So she watched the rest of the movie with me. And then I am who I am today.
Yeah.
Because of that movie.
So,
Nice.
for any listener who may not know Jurassic Park, you can assume that everyone knows Jurassic Park, but it's some years old now, and
31.
Mm-hmm. And so there's reason that people know of it, but haven't seen it or don't really know the expectation of it. So could you tell our listeners a little bit about why this fits on our list today?
So I think it's a natural evolution from Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. Frankenstein being, I want to create life, I want to reanimate the dead. What is Jurassic Park? It's bringing back
an extinct species.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in my mind, is that not Frankenstein?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
In the 90s.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
And it's not just playing God just for playing God's sake. It's playing God to make a fucking theme park.
Right.
Like, this is capitalism playing God.
Yeah. Capitalism at its worst. Yeah.
Yes, because that's manifests into a T-Rex.
The whole franchise is that they keep going after this almighty dollar for how many deaths? How many millions of people have died every single time you chase one of these? Stop!
Who keeps signing the permits to say, you know what? They'll fix it this time.
Yeah, even when John Hammond's dead, they're like, we're going to do it.
At least the first time it was on a foreign island. He bought the island. There was no need for permits.
And
no, it's all on the same island. They just keep going back to the freaking island. There's in the one movie they take the T-Rex off of it and it breaks loose. But
and in the World Series now they're all over the world now.
Yeah,
as of the last movie,
right?
They're running on the African plains,
and that series continues with those themes too. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say exactly what. One, because spoilers, and two, I don't want to block the rest of the franchise from. I'm not
sure understood.
Anymore.
Oh, I enjoy it. I'll watch all of them.
Yeah, I love.
It's gotten out of hand, but
But they still follow.
Well, it was
like Transformers. I'm too invested to that. Okay, you made it. I'll watch it.
Yeah, or anything Marvel keeps putting out.
I know I'm going to be unsatisfied in some way, but it's still entertainment.
Yeah, yeah. But
better than football.
All right, Joe. What is your first recommendation tonight?
I recommend people read the Michael Crichton book of Jurassic Park. Because
it's so good.
Yeah, anyway.
Even more Frankenstein,
it's really
that's
good.
Very hard sci-fi.
So my first one is a classic from 1992 with Robin Williams and Joan Cusack and LL Cool J, Toys.
Oh my God, I didn't even consider Toys. What a good recommendation, Joe. Tell us about Toys.
Okay, so it's a family comedy, actually, but in my opinion, it's kind of a twisted dark comedy in a way, and it's very philosophic and like almost Salvadorian, like Salvador Dali, like with its approach to cinematography, and it's just really good. So Robin Williams plays the son of a toy tycoon
manufacturer. Yeah, he owns a giant manufacturing company.
I forget the name of the toy company, but the father dies, right? So it's him and his sister, Joan Cusack, and he leaves the toy company ultimately to his brother, their uncle, who's this military guy. And he decides that they're no longer making toys, they're making weapons of mass destruction for children, and LL Cool J is his son, and it's this whole thing where
the influence of putting the war toys in the children's hands to generate soldiers and generate the
and this is 1992, and now they're talking about like little tiny now we have real drones that people sit in the cubicle and blow up countries. Like it was foreshadowing for actual. Anyway, I digress. But it was the playing God thing goes into, and I know we don't do spoilers.
No, and I was prep for that.
To fully explain how so they make it look like the uncle was the bad guy who was playing God and doing all that, and he was awful. But even the father was playing God, because you find out that the sister Joan Cusack is a toy. She's a robot.
Yeah.
He never had a sister.
Yeah. And I think there was allusion to that, so that's why I think it's okay.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of it.
Because she was a very simple character.
You'd think she was Downsy or something, the way she played, like not to talk down about Down syndrome people, but she had this kind of weirdness about her that was very universal.
What I love about this movie, so IMDb is showing it as with 34,000 votes, a 5 out of 10. And I was expecting that when I saw it, because it's one that even when I see in movie discussions and articles or in other podcasts, this movie gets maligned, and I don't understand why. It's a Barry Levinson film. He directed it. It's very creative. Like it's perfect for a Robin Williams vehicle, because he lives in the childhood nature of it. He was able to pretend all the things that needed to pretend, but they were setting up a world like Joe was talking about, the putting war out there, because he creates these toys, and even those are AI, because they're fully remote and control. Like he could run a war on just these little toys he's producing, and that's I think if I remember correctly, the third act conclusion is some sort of big fight sequence, right?
Huge.
But walking through
all
this
these
factory,
toys,
walking through this factory, there's these different rooms that take
practical effects
that take you different places, like. The factory itself is like a burgeoning.
It's a trip, dude. It's
of
Imagination.
imagination. It's just rooms and
that's
rooms
why
and
I say
rooms
it's
of imagination.
Salvador Dalian. Like every room, like there's a hallway to get through the place that you have to walk. That is literally a grassy path of hills.
Yes,
and there's always this family of ducks walking it, like toy ducks. Just it's just you have to watch it, because I don't want to spoil it, but it is a visually stunning masterpiece, and it takes you on an emotional roller coaster. It's anybody who doesn't, the people aren't going to get it, right? And that's why it gets these bad reviews, because they're like, it's very weird, it's out of left field, but I love that shit.
Yeah. It is weird. Oh, Donald O'Connor was in it.
I saw this when I was 10 years old.
Same.
Changed my fucking life. Kind of like how Jurassic Park changed your life. Like I saw that when it came out, in 96, 97.
It was one of those 92. Oh, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park was 93.
Yeah, and 93? Okay, so there you go. The next year. So I was already on this weird head of mine, and I was loving. Yeah, but I read that book because of my dad. My dad was like, "Oh, this movie was nothing compared to the book," and I was like, "There's a book," and I read it. So, thank you, Dad. Shout out George Quick.
I second the recommendation. Have you seen Toys?
I've never seen it.
Highly recommend checking this one out.
I will, because it sounds awesome and right up my alley.
All right. So my first recommendation, I think, I'm going through, so one of the things that I was really trying to focus on with making this list was to not just have Frankenstein replications, right? And not necessarily all horror or whatever. So I kind of expanded, was like looking around. So these, I don't think Toys is it's not a big blockbuster. And Jurassic Park is a blockbuster.
Might be one of the biggest blockbusters.
Either way, I'm going to throw this one out early, because I'd rather talk about this one early than later.
Sure.
Because it's going to be one of the more well-known titles, but also I believe there are still people who know it by name and not by actually watching it. And that's The Matrix. The original Matrix, which by this point, like many successful Jurassic Park suffers it, many successful franchises do when they become franchises, is they become overexposed. And I think you start to lose what was valuable about the beginning of the franchise. And I think The Matrix has unfortunately fallen there, because the first movie, when I saw that one in theater, Me and my buddies in high school, every Friday, we would go cash our work checks, go out and eat, and then go watch the movie. And The Matrix, it was a big advertising thing, so it's not like it was an unknown underground thing.
But it was revolutionary to movie.
But it was advertised as an action movie, and because it was so revolutionary, we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So the experience of seeing that for the first time in theaters really took you someplace. So if you've not seen The Matrix, and not actually watched The Matrix is it's a feign, right? But it gives it away pretty early on. You learn that you are not actually a person. You are the replication of a person, of an idea, because your actual body is being incubated somewhere because AIs, artificial life forms that man created thousands of years ago have taken over, and now they farm us for our energy, the electricity.
AI turned us into H-cell batteries.
Exactly, and our bodies and our life force gives the power to their fucking society. But in exchange, we're given our life within, and then there's the Matrix, and that's a whole thing. So
it's a simulation.
What I took away from that when I first watched the movie. Now, this is 2000, 2001, whatever it was, 99 maybe. I think it was 99.
1999.
When you walked out of the theater, you have to remember back then, some of us had cell phones. They were not the same cell phones we had today. You could make a call. Back in 99, you couldn't send a text.
No, like if you had the badass one, it was a Nokia and you could play Snake on it.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Snake.
So that's where I think, like talking about this 100. Now and talking about this versus people who've not seen it or not introduced to it. If you are going into it, you have to put yourself back in that place, because when I walked out, my reaction from the Wachowskis was, shit, what if that's real? There's nothing. There's
whole people.
Just for a moment. Let me, I know it's not. I know it's a fucking movie, but just for a moment.
Yeah.
What is this? What if that's what's really happening? How would you know? You wouldn't know.
25 years later, there are people who actually believe that now.
I mean, let them believe what they want to believe. In the context of the movie, and then not the...
Scientifically, it's interesting.
That's not our discussion. Our discussion isn't about the psychosis of somebody else thinking they're in the Matrix. My discussion here is AI has taken over, and here we are fighting from within the system. And, the Agent Smith character being I don't remember what the
control
code
called.
Yeah.
Agents. They were agents,
but they were the representatives of the outside world, which we didn't really learn about too much in the first one. We knew what I just mentioned.
More in the second and the third.
But there was a whole lot more of that expansion in the remainder of the series. But the first one, even if you're just watching the first movie, I don't necessarily need to recommend the series. The first one, I think, fits this topic.
It does. It definitely
in a way
does.
that moves the conversation forward.
What I love is there's a line of dialogue in there where he says, and people thought it was laughable in theaters, right? Like, the 90s is the apex of the human condition, and now here we are 30 years later going,
yeah,
it might have been.
It was kind of a happy time.
Yeah, that was probably the height of capitalism.
Yeah, it got shitty. It got shitty a little after that.
Right. You could have under $100,000 a year job and buy a boat.
Right.
Like, everybody was winning in that decade.
I don't recall. Have you had a chance to talk about Matrix yet?
Well, I've seen The Matrix. I love that point how because I want to talk about the 90s for a second.
Yeah.
We're still making Matrix movies and Jurassic Park movies and Scream movies.
Yeah.
A lot of the
these were
stuff.
original ideas back then.
Yeah.
Right. These are 90s ideas.
Correct.
And
they're still moving forward.
A Lion King prequel coming out. Another 90s movie, you know?
We're still living in the 90s.
That's that. Because there was good. Well, it may have been the last decade.
It was the last. It was the last decade for we make a lot of independent films, but for the indie market to be booming the way it did in the 90s, there's never been anything like that. Mm-hmm. Half the movies I talk about are from that fucking boom.
I mean, we'll do an episode one day. I'd like to do an episode one day where we do just something about the 90s, or even a month where we do like 90s this, 90s that, because I think there is a plethora of good content in the 90s.
I think we'll get to a point where we just do decades. Like this episode will be 90s, and another episode we'll do like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
We all recommended 90s movies.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
93, 92, and 99.
Yeah, so. That's a good place to start. And this is a good place for us to take our break. So we're going to take a quick break and empty our bladders, fill our glasses, do all the things, and we will see you guys in just a moment.
Skibber-dip. Oh, yeah, welcome back, baby.
So when we left, I had recommended The Matrix. Prior to that, Joe recommended Toys, and Austin recommended Jurassic Park. So now we're back to Austin. Austin, before we make our recommendations, I don't think we really gave our listeners an introduction to you as a person yet, and that is on me. So tell our listeners a little bit about you and your work in the film industry.
Yeah, so I primarily work with horror movies. I'm a writer-director. I shot my first short in 2020, so I'm still really new. Mm-hmm. But I've done 4 so far, so 4 since 2020. I think that's a pretty good clip.
That's really good. That is good.
Yeah,
honestly,
from concept to completion.
I think it's less about the how many have I done, but how happy am I with what I've done, regardless of how much it is.
I'm a workaholic, though.
See?
So it's like I want to keep going,
in this industry,
going.
You gotta be, dude. You gotta.
So are there any titles that our listeners could check out?
Yeah, so 3 of them are on YouTube, and they should all be on my horror. So I also have a horror movie podcast called Would You Die?
Okay.
And I have a YouTube channel for that where that has like episodes, and I don't know, there's fun horror content, but I have my short films on there. Best Day Ever, which has a lot of Michigan talent.
Best Day Ever. Mm-hmm. Okay, who was the main talent in that one?
Omar Aragones, I think is how you say his last name.
Okay.
Cameron Benjamin, Molly Gibson, who co-wrote and co-produced it with me. And then I did Ice Scream, which is
Was that your short?
Yeah. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I was called to AD it, and I think I was booked.
Oh, okay.
And somebody else came on.
Okay, so that was me.
Small industry, man.
Yeah,
right. You shot it in Plymouth?
Yes.
Yep.
Especially here. Sela Convis and Jeff Ciarta were in that one. That one was a lot of fun. That one, Best Day Ever, is more like a horror comedy. I like to call it comedy in a Halloween costume.
Okay.
Ice Cream is...
That's a good description.
I like that.
Ice Cream's my first like true horror, and even then I think of that one as like if you like fell asleep watching Cartoon Network and you saw something fucked up on Adult Swim. Okay. That's kind of like how Ice Cream is to me, like a Too Many Cooks kind of movie.
No, right up my alley, like Super Jail.
Yeah, that was the intention at least. Yeah.
I love it, dude. Moral Oral.
Yeah.
My third one's going through the festivals right now. It's called Spider. It's about a spider. Has a fantastic actor. Her name's Spooky Madison. And then my latest one, which I just put straight on YouTube for October because I wanted like a little Halloween short. It's called The Blood Witch.
Blood Witch.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do a big mix of horror.
I heard about that one going around.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
What did you say the name of your channel was?
I didn't get the call, but I heard.
Would You Die?
Would You Die?
Yes.
Yeah, I typed it in.
Well, it's small, I found it if you search for The Blood Witch, that one comes up really fast, and then you can find the show from there, the channel from there.
There we go, horror short, got it.
Yep. But
you're gonna get yourself a new follow here.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I feel like I'm a relative newcomer.
Sure.
It's hard to say newcomer when you've been doing it for 4 years, but like
And I think we'll talk about this on Set Life quite a bit, but one of the things that we talk about a lot is that this is an ever-growing industry, right? I don't feel like in any time soon I should be at the top of my game, because then what do I have to look forward to?
Yeah, always learning, always growing.
It's always going to feel like you're still relatively new, as long as there are new things that you're learning and new things that you're bringing to the table. But the fact that you are doing it, and you are doing it since 2020, that's to be applauded.
Oh, thank you.
Through a pandemic, congratulations, man.
Enough. My first feature I didn't work on until after the pandemic. Before that, it was just music videos and commercials and the things that we'd worked on.
No, you were. It was during the pandemic, the first one.
It depends on where you're calling, but it was 2020.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, post the actual happening,
but I mean,
right.
But it wasn't.
But again,
was
you said
within 4 years.
Yeah, and a little more acceleration than Austin here in those 4 years. But also, you had a whole life dedicated towards this profession that led you to that.
Absolutely.
And once you found your springboard, motherfucker, you jumped.
Right. And we're still trudging along.
Yeah.
So let's get to the list. Austin, brings us back to you. What else do you have for us today?
So I started it off with like one of the most popular movies of all time. And my second pick, I'm going to go with something. It's a indie horror movie that came out last year.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think a lot of people have heard of it, and that's a shame because it's really fantastic. It's called The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster.
Okay, so I've been wanting to. I think it's on Shudder.
It is on Shudder.
I've been wanting to watch it. So tell me about it.
I've not seen it either.
It is basically a retelling of Frankenstein.
Really?
And it's really cool. It's like, in my mind, it's like how The Lion King retells Hamlet.
Okay.
Or how West Side Story retells Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
This film, I believe the writer-director, his name is Bomani J. Story. And he takes the concept of Frankenstein and makes the mad scientist, I'm doing air quotes for the people listening, and gives it to a high schooler in some inner city, I don't know where, and, and she's black, as the title says.
So is Harlem. I'm just...
I don't know. I don't remember where the city was.
That's
but,
inconsequential. Just continue.
Yeah. And, she wants to bring back her older brother who was killed to either gang violence or police brutality. It was one of those two. The film tackles both. But
excellent. Good topics.
And it's like taking these real relevant social themes.
Yeah.
and combining it with a classic, timeless horror story, I think it's a fantastic film.
Yeah, I've been meaning to. So I'll be honest. For me, the title wasn't a grabber for me.
That's fair.
Too wordy for you?
No. Too specific without telling me really anything. So it just, I didn't feel targeted by it.
Okay.
Like, I was
well, the title itself, did you not synapse? Because I always like the title. I could take or leave a title. You know what I mean? Like it's the synapse.
Well, so going back to some of our streaming, I come across the title, and if a trailer of any kind plays, it's just a scene. So you're not getting any sort of advertisement. So
sure,
it's in the queue. I added it to watch it.
Yeah, I
but
need
nothing,
the synapsis.
Nothing grabbed me. And the synapsis,
and streaming services, listen up. Put the synapsis when it pops up, okay?
Yeah. God damn it.
Like, why do I have to click on it and then hit more to read the
That's
like...
And Shudder's bad for that. Shudder,
4
the
clicks
description on Shudder's, not only that, but when you click into it, then you click back, it kind of resets you. So it's kind of a pain in the ass.
This is
actually. So this is, so again.
User friendly.
As a result, up until now, I've had little motivation to watch it. It's on the list because it's something I want to watch.
It's a horror movie, yeah.
But prioritizing whether it comes first before anything else has been...
I'm already at the age I need to start enlarging my font on my phone. So, just make it easier, okay?
Especially on
That's not true, but it was funny.
Yes. All right, Joe. You've not seen it?
I have not. No,
okay.
But
So
it is on my radar, and I wanted to. Yeah,
what's your next recommendation then?
Okay, so we're gonna go with 2014 sci-fi thriller Transcendence. Ooh. Johnny Depp and several others. Rebecca Hall.
So Transcendent, I don't think I've seen it, and it came up in my research when I was...
Johnny Depp plays Dr. Will Castor, the world's foremost authority on artificial intelligence. He's conducting highly controversial experiments to create a sentient machine. When extremists try to kill the doctor, they inadvertently become the catalyst for him to succeed. Will's wife, Evelyn, played by Rebecca Hall, and best friend Max, played by Paul Bettany.
Yeah, I love Paul Bettany.
Can only watch as his thirst for knowledge evolves to an omnipresent quest for power, and his loved ones soon realize that it may be impossible to stop him. Now, he uploads his brain and consciousness successfully onto a computer, and then has all his AI stuff plugged into it. So now, to his loved ones, it appears to be him, but it's
Interesting.
not. Right? Obviously, it's not. It's this intelligence that just creates $1 billion corporate. I don't want to, you got. It's. You want to talk about, because and this is 2014. Look how much more pivotal that topic is now.
Yeah.
And he creates nanobots, and they can go on people and control them. It's crazy. I really can't go on without spoiling this movie. It's amazing. It was done really well. And to go from one that was all practical effects and toys to one that is almost completely CGI in this, it's great. And it's also got one of our favorite character actors, Clifton.
Oh God, give me his name. Clifton, an asshole, right here on the elbow.
Yeah, from Rules of Attraction.
Yeah. It'll come to me. I don't think I've seen Transcendent, so I don't have much to say about it. Have you seen it?
I don't think I have either.
I know it's one that Joe liked. I think Joe and I probably started watching it one time.
I liked it. I got it on a $5 rack somewhere. You know what I mean? I love those movies.
And it probably came on, and we started talking or moved on to other things. So I've not seen that.
I've seen it at least a dozen times because I had the DVD, and this was before streaming was getting going, but there was you had Netflix or cable, and I did not have cable, so I just had DVD collections, and what I had, I watched and watched and watched.
So my next recommendation, think I'm going to go with. We're going to go to the 80s. We've not stretched back.
It's been a while, not this episode.
So I am going to go with Total Recall.
Ooh. Oh, nice, dude. That was rebooted.
I don't care.
But we're not talking about that.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall. So
I love Colin Farrell.
I'm pretty sure that's a Philip K. Dick short story or novel.
So.
Novel, yeah. It could have been a short story.
But it's about a guy who is looking to. So they're advertising these new ways of going on vacation, but without going on vacation. Yep. Yeah. And so he goes to a. It doesn't look sketchy, and I guess for the 80s and it being a forget the director's name, Van
Verhoeven. Yeah, RoboCop, right?
Yep. He goes into it's a very it was sketchy to me the first time I saw it. That's what I'm getting to. It looks sketchy. It looks professional, but it looks sketchy.
No, I mean it was the 80s. It was top fucking tier for that time.
He's then given this device that is supposed to take him.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Supposed to take him to his premier vacation spot, which they determined through a portfolio that he assisted or in some way they put together. But it's science. And what then ensues is this adventure on Mars. And he runs into wacky characters. He's lost. Because, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's average everyday man, right?
Well, he's going to this place where they implant a vacation memory. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to actually go on vacation. And he chooses secret agent, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden it goes wrong and he's fighting people and they're like, it's all part of the simulation. Of course, this is what but he already had. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm getting to the spoilers. I'm sorry.
We're proud of you. You've seen it.
You should be proud of me. I restrained myself.
But it's just so it's actually not the 80s. This is still the 90s. This is 1990.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so close.
Hard. I know.
We're so close.
Is not 1990 the last year of the 80s though?
I agree. And that means it was probably filmed somewhere in late 88 or 89 or however long.
Right.
Sure. But I guess just not technically released in the 80s. But it's fun 80s action or 90s, I guess. It's fun, but 80s, it looks 80s. It's 80s.
It's full on 80s.
But yeah, the fact that man has fucked with his mental his mind.
Yeah.
That's where I got.
Well, and in the movie they had messed with the Earth, the atmosphere's fucked up, and that's why they're going to Mars.
That's why they got. That's why.
Yeah.
But if you've not seen that, one of the things that it's really really well known for is some of the practical effects. Because he's secret agent, so some of his disguises, some of the three-titted woman is pretty famous, right? It's just
paper mache.
It's an amazing visual experience to watch this movie, and it's so much fun.
3 tits? That's awesome.
So you've seen it?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to remember the last time I saw it. I think it was
been a while for
the past few years.
Yeah, it's probably been a decade or so since I've seen it.
For me, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago because it popped up on like Max or Cinemax or something.
Okay.
Like it popped up in a subscription, so I was like, "Fuck yes, please."
Yeah.
But then it recommended the new one, and I was like, "How dare you?" Okay, I watched it.
Did you? I've not seen it, so I can't really fairly say anything about it.
I've seen the reboot twice. Fucking ugh.
But
it had potential, but Jesus Christ, the fucking lens flare filter they put on this movie.
It was the era.
Were they
I
trying
don't
to be
care.
JJ?
It was
It was the JJ era.
Only JJ can be JJ.
JJ's having a hard time being JJ.
And he's only the one who can do it, so it's not.
Right, if the only one who could do it can't do it, it's obviously over. Just stop.
Yeah.
Stop, please stop. For everyone, stop.
So then if we're done talking about Total Recall, it is back to you, Austin.
I know I have 2 more picks. There's so many because I came up with a couple, and I'm like,
we're gonna do honorable mentions. At the end,
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
Yeah, you have at least
where we just kind of rattle off.
then I feel like it would be a sin if I don't make sure we don't bring up. I'll actually take us to the 80s.
Hey, for real?
For real, and I'm gonna bring up Reanimator.
Oh,
Bro, fucking love you. Definitely was in my honorable mentions, but I feel like have I brought that up on the show?
no, we've not talked about Reanimator yet. So let's. Austin.
Yes. So I've actually watched it for the first time last year.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And I was so mad at myself. Why did I wait so long to watch it?
Well, did you wait, or did you watch it as soon as you were aware of it?
I've been aware of it, and it's just like
it wasn't.
I never like got to it, and like I don't know what I thought it was or anything like that. And I was like, I'll
tell you what it is. It's fucking Reanimator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell the listeners if they're not familiar what Reanimator is.
So Reanimator is correct me if I'm wrong, Stuart Gordon, right?
Correct.
Stuart Gordon.
And I've only seen the film once, but it has Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, who I think because of Reanimator are like, if you're a horror fan, you love them.
Yeah,
They're
well, Stuart used them several times. They're in several of his.
So I have not seen Bride of Reanimator. I have not seen.
Stuart had nothing to do with those.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Reanimator was his only one.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's beloved that I haven't seen, From Beyond, I think.
It's great.
That one is the title.
Amazing.
Okay. I have not seen it yet, but yeah. So basically, Dr. Herbert West, played by Jeffrey Combs, he's in college and he basically wants to do Frankenstein shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's from just seeing it the one time, it felt like the 80s. Kind of like exploitation, like indie.
Yes.
Let's do Frankenstein, but make it gooier and fun.
Yeah. Well, it was his first movie, too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He had no fucking clue what he was doing when he made
around
it.
his own head.
It's wild.
I love it.
Yeah, he had a TV movie. IMDb says "Bleach Your Bums," which doesn't sound like he learned a lot from that. But yeah, from what I understand, Reanimator was that was 79 and Reanimator's 85. So in 6 years, he was obviously like, let's just fucking do this. Yeah. He was big into theater, so he I think hails from Chicago. He had a theater in Chicago. That makes sense because they do Reanimator on stage.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he's dead now, Stewart, but. As far as I know, they're still doing it, and it's supposed to be amazing. Yeah, he died in 2020.
Yeah, that was recent.
It's messy. It's like going to an interactive show because they spray you down.
Bring
with
your
blood
ponchos,
and yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's still a thing. It's one of those movies that I think you find in circles because it's not something that is talked about in what do they call it, the general conversation. Or
it's not mainstream.
Right.
It's punk rock.
It's very punk rock.
Yeah.
And you can see the influence. You didn't mention it is inspired by an H.P. Lovecraft story, so it does have that little bit of weirdness and weirdness of life
to it. Yeah.
And the title being Reanimator kind of implies how it fits on our list here, but that's what he's trying to do is trying to reinvigorate life, from
the spark of life
from a student's perspective.
The spark of life, yeah.
And things go awry.
Yeah, as
they tend to do. Yeah, as they tend to do.
We're best friends now.
I love you, dude. Oh, for sure. We're hanging out again.
Oh yeah. But I loved Reanimator when I watched it. I'm due for a rewatch. Like I said, I watched it for the first time last year, so I'm definitely due for a rewatch. But I wanted to bring it up because I want to make sure we have like that 80s kind of sleazy, very indie, very it's like a big, when you say he did theater, that makes sense. It's a big movie.
So big.
And not in like scope, but in like performance and idea.
I'm glad you brought it up because I have seen it so long ago that I wouldn't have been able to hold a conversation on it. Had none of you seen it, I'd have been like, oh, see, Reanimator. Right. It's just been a while. I mean, it was fun. But so I'm glad you brought it up because it definitely needed to be talked about today.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Joseph.
Well, I'm gonna go in the opposite direction on this one. And I'm gonna bring up 2005 sci-fi action flick Michael Bay feature, which is rare for me.
It is rare for you.
The Island with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson.
What's rare for Michael Bay is like put a movie out that has that kind of quality to it.
No shit, right? Yeah, like not just a car blowing up the size of 4 pounds of C4, which there's not that much gas in that car.
So The Island. If someone's not familiar, tell us about The Island.
Futuristic thriller about a contained, seemingly utopian facility in the mid-21st century. The residents hope to be chosen to go to the island by lottery, the last uncontaminated place on Earth. But when one inhabitant discovers that there are sinister forces at work, he and a female friend make a daring escape. Obviously, Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson are these two characters. But there's so many like bit parts, like Michael Duncan Clark before he passed was in and he did a great job. And like, there's so many good, and they get to play two parts.
Isn't this similar to
because they have their real life counterpart?
Okay,
that's rich, arrogant person who these people. This is an organ farm,
right?
And you find like all these girls are getting pregnant, so like rich women are having themselves cloned to carry their baby and not affect their figure. Like it gets deeper. It's so good. The story, for Michael Bay, like I almost want to applaud him.
Yeah, but he deserves
he makes
it.
Enough money. He doesn't need my applause. No. He can pay me for the applause. He can afford it.
Pay you for the applause. I
don't care if it's $1.
Have you seen The Island?
I have. 2005.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it since it came out on DVD.
Okay,
because I remember
that's fair. Yeah,
that was a film like my mom and I rented. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, it's Michael Bay. Everybody it did well when it came out, but it's been a while, and I think it went by the wayside. And it definitely fits into this category.
Oh, absolutely does.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I, like Austin, haven't seen it in so long that I remember frames from it, but I don't remember context. And that's I almost spoiled.
Totally worth a rewatch, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. Honestly, I think the reason I hadn't come back to it was linked to we'll just call it my snobbiness or whatever. When the movie came out in 2005, it was just a movie, and now it's a Michael Bay movie, and I'm like, that probably wasn't as good as I thought it was.
This one was.
So
this one was. Steve Buscemi is amazing in it.
I love Steve Buscemi.
I didn't remember he was in it.
He's the engineer who has got Hugh McGregor's character drinking whiskey and smoking cigarettes and talking pop culture because he found you got to watch it. You got to watch it.
Yeah, because I've seen it and I remember seeing it, but when I watch it again,
the whole reason and way they get out is because of Steve Buscemi's character. He's the catalyst.
The part I remember the best is there's a motorcycle chase at some point.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I remember most too.
One of the people on one of the chasers on the motorcycle jumps up and hits a billboard. And my mom and I thought it was so funny that we rewound it all the time. So that's why I remember, because I've seen that part 9 times. But the rest of the movie only 9 times.
That's hilarious.
Well, it is Michael Bay. There's gonna be car chases and explosions. It's a good movie,
and they're gonna be good. I think he's good at action. He
is. He's very good at action.
You can't argue that he's an action guy.
It's just that you can tell that half of his stories are fueled from a cocaine binge with the studio executive. And then they.
You seem stalled there. Yeah, I'm having a hard time. Why don't we just blow something up? You know what? Yes, that's great. It's been a minute. It's been a half a page since we blew something up.
At least 5 seconds since the bridge exploded for unexplained reasons.
So my next recommendation is not going to be from the 80s, but but from the 2000s. But this is one that I still think is not talked about enough. It was one of the first times that I seen the Focus Feature logo come up, and after watching it I was like, I need to watch more of these movies.
I miss the original Focus Features.
All
you A24 ravers, check out Focus Features in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they had some good stuff, including Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet. Oh, man.
So Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is about a gentleman who is having some relationship issues and having the issue with dealing with the loss of a girlfriend. And so he goes to a clinic where they promise to erase your memories, and they can cite out specific memories and just erase what you want and this and that, or they can completely fuck you over. And I don't want to ruin too much, but
very surreal.
This is the pitch. So that's where he gets started, and Elijah Wood and Kirsten Dunst and Mark Ruffalo are techs. I think Kirsten's just the girlfriend, but they come and they because the procedure happens while you're at home.
She's more secretary.
The procedure happens while you're at home. You sleep through it, but it's now a Lynchian vortex of the mind, because a lot of the movie takes place in Jim Carrey's mind as he's learning his appreciation for the memories that he had. And it's not a rom-com. It's definitely a romance movie, but it's not the typical, it's a chick flick. I'm telling you,
it's definitely somber.
Definitely, you can make it a date movie for sure if you two are looking for something to watch. But it is an adventure.
It's a date movie where it makes or breaks a relationship. Either you both relate to it, or somebody thinks the other one's a little twisted.
Like Reanimator.
Right.
I'm speaking from experience.
Oh, so But
I was happy with that outcome, believe me.
So I recommend you check this one out because it is it's unlike anything else that is out there, which is the filmmaker. The filmmaker is Michael Gondry or Michel Gondry, and he makes weird movies. I think this is the first of his that we've talked about. But regardless, that's a tangent. This movie I recommend it for its performances, for its internal speculation of our own selves and of our history, and then also the why does
damage of losing the happiness of a sad moment,
but also of how can science really get their hands on us and fuck up our lives? Like, this is one way that could definitely happen because it isn't natural what he is subjecting himself to.
You're avoiding growth from trauma by deleting the trauma. Like they were together 5, 6, 7 years, and now he's gonna not remember anything. What if he had moved apartments? What are you gonna why'd you move, and where'd the fucking the residual damage to everything in your life that revolves around that. And this movie goes into it, and he talks to his friend, the David Cross character, and stuff like that, and how they're trying to not say things. I don't want to spoil it.
You're leading yourself up to spoilers.
It's amazing.
It is a fantastic film.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
This was actually a recent watch for me, like a recent first time watch for
Excellent.
me. Within the year, I believe. I watched it this year, I think.
Excellent.
Yeah, early, January or February of this year.
Excellent, man.
And I thought it was brilliant.
What led you to watching it?
Well, I had bought it a couple months prior, and I hadn't watched it
just on a whim. You were like, "Oh, I've never seen this. I'll buy it."
That's how I. Well, here's the thing: I'm bad with money, but and I like having a shelf of movies.
Yeah.
So those two qualities of
mine.
mine.
An art collection.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And with certain things going, it's film preservation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
why that title?
Yeah. What had you heard?
I've heard of it. I've heard it was fantastic, and I was like, it's Jim Carrey, it's Kate Winslet. I know they're great. I didn't know Mark Ruffalo was in it.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood, and Kirsten Dunst were all a surprise. I don't think they were in any of the marketing.
Yeah, and when Elijah Wood first showed up, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, fucking Frodo?
Yeah.
Because this was only a couple years after Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and I don't think Lord of the Rings was even out yet when they...
It was definitely the first one but they were still releasing the others.
Yeah, he filmed in between, seasons.
And his role didn't require him being on set too long because of most of the film
did a lot of those when that was kind of his resurgence because he was a child star.
It was 2004, so it was a year before Sin City. He was in Sin City, in 2005.
He was so good in
that. He was a busy guy, but he definitely spent most of his time in New Zealand from 2000 to 2003.
He had to be busy with a resurgence like that, trying to reinvent himself from being this child actor.
Right.
And sure, playing Frodo was amazing, but
what I think
that's still child-esque, because he's a hobbit, so he had to break free from anyway.
What I missed to really mention about this, so I saw this in theaters, and the hook at the time was because you saw the trailer, and the trailer was pretty somber. Mm-hmm. It's not being sold as a comedy or anything, so I was like, wait a minute, Jim Carrey in a psychological drama? What is this? I mean, I had seen a couple of his other shows. Yeah, the Majestic.
Yeah.
But
the Majestic. I forgot about
that was really the intrigue about it was to see and again the focus feature thing. I was like, oh, what is this combination? But his performance is so good.
Oh yeah,
so good. It's over the top plus understated, and this is we want to talk about Elijah Wood reinventing. This was a big pivotal moment for him because he was coming off of was Bruce Almighty out already by that point? Maybe
I think so.
Yeah, he was
and
at
the Grinch,
peak,
I think too.
He was at the peak of all of his what we know him for, famous. Yeah. And this was, this was at the start of things that...
He had already stretched a little bit of those dramatic
Sure,
legs,
but it was from that...
this way.
From that, he, then we saw him in things like The Number 23.
Yes,
and,
bro.
More of his more serious things that started to come out after. And I think that was because we didn't want to take him seriously in Eternal Sunshine. And then you saw...
Do you guys remember that? Or whatever it was
this
called
TV show?
on Showtime?
I didn't see it.
No.
Yeah, I know of it, but I did not see that.
That shit.
So Eternal Sunshine.
It's Carrey to pull your heart out.
Eternal Sunshine's been one of my highly recommended movies for years now. 20 of them actually.
Yeah.
Fair, yeah.
All right, so this is going to be your last pick for the evening, Austin.
Bringing it home.
All right, so I'd like to think I picked a big variety of films.
Yeah, there's been a huge, just in general here, there's a variety.
Including one of the biggest films of all time, a brand new indie film, and then like an 80s
classic.
80s punk rock. Yeah.
It's a cult. It's a cult
like
classic.
A niche class. Yeah, cult classic. That
How
perfect.
do you wrap up that rodeo you brought to us?
Well, my through line through all of them is they're all retellings of Frankenstein in one way or another. So I've been leading to a Frankenstein movie, but like an actual Frankenstein movie. And I'm not going to do the OG one because that's too obvious. I'm going to pick Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay.
Because I think it's one of like those, it's one of the first. So I'm taking us back to the 40s.
Yes, right? I'm very aware. I love
35.
Yeah.
Oh, 35. 35. Yeah. Thank you.
But I didn't know that off the top of my head. I want to take credit. I've got it in front of me. I just want the listeners
Brad has a laptop. Everyone else is.
But yeah, 35. I think it's like one of the first sequels that just improved upon the original.
Okay.
I don't want to say it's better, but I do think it's equal. And it takes themes that from the book that they didn't explore in the 1931 original.
Yes.
Interesting. I did not know that. So I've not read the Frankenstein book.
And it more portrays the agony of Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
Because it illustrates his want for companionship outside of his creator, which really illustrates the human condition more than the original film.
Right.
In the original book. I completely agree with you.
And like the monster in the sequel, and I want to do my best without spoilers, I think he's more of a character, whereas in the original, he's more of a plot device.
Right.
And the original's a classic. It's, I think, one of the best films ever.
Film-wise, right. But the book, so we can't really confuse the two. Like, we're talking about the movie, they left out, in the original 1941 Frankenstein, they left out a lot of the humanity that was actually in him, like the suffering of being feared, and and how lonely that was, right? Like they illustrate a little bit, but not how the book does, right? So that's what they did so well with Bride of Frankenstein. Good choice, man.
And I think it hammers home the man playing God theme a little harder too.
Right.
Because of that. And I think it has one of the best endings of any movie. Obviously, I won't say it.
Yeah, don't say it. Admission time. I've never seen a Frankenstein movie ever.
None of them?
Not a single one.
Mm-mm. Not even
I've seen
Helsing?
I've seen that piece of shit, but
it has a Frankenstein.
It does, but that's
Frankenstein.
That was almost my fourth pick. No,
I've seen.
I liked you. No, I'm just kidding.
I've seen Mel Brooks, Young Frankenstein, Frankenstein. That's a Frankenstein.
That counts though.
Abby Normal.
Does it though? Does it though?
It does.
It counts.
It's pronounced Igor.
But none of the Karloff ones, none of the Hammer horror ones, none of the Universals.
Every single one I've seen. I probably own all of them.
You're gonna miss an opportunity. You can tell us about how you can never avoid seeing Frankenstein.
How I can never avoid
how you can never avoid it.
Oh, well, I am tattooed as Frankenstein on my wife's shoulder, and she's the bride. It's her favorite.
That's iconic.
Yeah, it's her favorite folklore. So we did a photo shoot, like a greaser style photo shoot in our basement years ago, and she took that photo to a tattoo artist, a very talented one, and wanted Frankenstein the Bride on her arm in a heart. Dude, the tattoo is fucking gorgeous.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I'm eternalized on her arm, and I look pretty damn good if I do say so myself.
Hell yeah.
Of course, I was like 27 or 31 or something at the time.
Still, that's iconic.
My wife's Mary Shelley freak. So.
Yeah. So, Joe, what are you going to leave us with today?
See, that's what I thought you were leading up to. I was like, I know I have the next. And then,
No.
That's what took me the second. Yeah. So, no, I'm not torn. I got a bunch of great honorable mentions, but we're going to do 2008's musical horror, Repo, the genetic opera.
That's on my list. I need to see it.
In the mid-21st century, an epidemic of organ failures leads to the rise of GeneCo, a company providing transplants at a great price. Those who miss their payments become targets of GeneCo mercenaries who repossess the organs. In a world of drug addiction and legalized murder, a sheltered youth, played by Alexia Vega, seeks a cure for her rare disease as well as information about her family's mysterious history. Her questions are answered at the Genetic Opera. And this movie is just insane.
Yeah, Len Bus Wyman, whatever his name. He directed the second Saw.
Yeah, but the story was from the guy who plays, if you watch the movie, The Grave Robber, and they sing, it's opera, like they're singing opera in this movie, but with a rock and roll kind of twist, and it's just, the story is amazing, and what happens when you tell people, oh, you don't have to die if you have money. You can replace all your organs. But then if you can't pay, we're just going to come rip it out. Like, what? Surely you could just raise the interest or something.
Right.
Can we negotiate here?
I can't apply for an extension.
This story has been remade several times, even before it was purchased and made into this movie. It was made into as another movie. So, yeah. Because like Repo Men with what was it, Forrest Whitaker and Jude Law or something, yeah, it was all right.
So,
but without the musical aspect and like I don't know.
There's a relation to the concept, but the story itself isn't original. They wrote a play, Darren Smith and Terrence Zdunich, and then they wrote the screenplay for this, and Darren Lynn Bousman directed it. So it is original property. It's not based on anything other than ideas and theories.
No, it's definitely an original property, but then there's other things like people have like ripped it off.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think anything directly related, so you're not going to get a different version of it, just a whole different story. Yeah. I wish this movie did better when it came out because
Bill Moseley's in it.
It's hard.
Oh shit!
It's hard to get these types of things lifted off. You know,
if you're
like
a horror fan.
You can't say
Moseley.
You can't say that musicals are unsuccesscul. You know, we're in a decade where they've been doing a lot of new musicals and such, but without them being something that's huge, like Wicked, the studios don't want to pay for it. And musicals are expensive to make.
Yeah.
You know, doing the dance sequences and the song sequences require you being in the studio first, having the songs pre-recorded, then there's the dancing, then there's the production value. So if it doesn't make back its money, and being a horror, like for me, I do like musicals. Not all of them, they're not all for me, but the thing that I really, really would like to see is something more like this, where the musical is
all the dialogue's music.
Well, like but that it's not, but it's done like you were saying, like this is like a rock musical.
Yeah.
Like a legit rock musical. You rarely get, it's a musical and we're pretending to be rock, but like this one was full on like horror gore.
Yeah, dude. It was like, so much gore, so much horror, like this immersing in the, like when I mentioned this drug addiction addled world. Like you feel like you're in that world.
It's wild.
It's really wild. Well done.
Good recommendation. This has been a wild list. So I've got one more tonight, and now I'm torn. I've got several here that I'm looking at and I'd like to talk about.
We're still gonna.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, and that's where I'm figuring. So I think I'm gonna go with. It's just such a newer movie, but I'm gonna talk about. I'll talk about it all. Yeah, I'm gonna do Blade Runner 2049.
Ooh,
you do Blade Runner.
Well, so I did have Blade Runner on the list, and I love talking about Blade Runner. I'm a big Ridley Scott fan. I'm a big Philip K. Dick fan. But Blade Runner 2049, I think, is more and not more. I mean, so Blade Runner, if you're not familiar, is a Blade Runner is a detective who looks for androids because the world has created life to do our slave labor, right? They sent them off to Mars to do mining, and in the book, society lives on Mars. I don't know in the movie if it really implies that. Like we destroyed Earth so fucking bad that like the air is terrible, and so people who live, like real people who live on Earth, all have some sort of disease that's eventually going to kill you. It's just a matter of when. But in Blade Runner 2049, it's all new characters. You do get Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, making an appearance, and the question that is at the core of the movie is, that's weird. I don't know what that is. At the core of the movie is, can these androids create life? There's this proposition that an android escaped and birthed their own child. And so that is the MacGuffin of Blade Runner 2049. But it's
MacGuffin Crime Dog?
It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, who has just done the Dune series, and it's gorgeous. This movie is so gorgeous because, of course, it's got it was shot by
Roger Deakins, right?
Thank you, Deakins.
You're getting too used to that computer in front of you.
Shot by Deakins, and his use of colors, his use of grand scope,
Ryan Gosling.
Amazing. Yeah,
Ryan Gosling's performance is, I mean, and a performance by I'm just got to dust off all the things. The wrestler, Dave Bautista. That's the first time you really see emotion out of a performance. Like, we all love Drax, sure,
and he has moments of emotion as Drax.
But let's admit, like that's
a different movie.
It's an easier role to get into, especially over the course of a series.
Said he felt used as like. I felt like I stretched my legs as an actor for the first time. Somebody challenged me to be more than who, his muscles.
I don't know how well it did. Generally speaking, I think most people like Blade Runner 2049. It's a slower movie. I can't say that like you have to watch the first Blade Runner. I would recommend it just because I'm a fan of all of them.
I mean, I'd recommend it, but it's not necessary.
You can go into Blade Runner 2049. They explain enough of it.
I really enjoyed it, but like you said, slow.
Well, and so is Blade Runner. Blade Runner notoriously gets modern day people are like, I don't know why you guys like Blade Runner. It's fucking stupid, and that's fine. I like it, but I like that it's slow.
I do too.
The performance that Ryan Gosling gives is so. I don't even know what descriptive word I want to use. It's like his character in Drive. It's very internal.
He's so good at because
he's subtle. He doesn't
utilizes
overdo
that
anything
in every single character he plays. But in these movies that you're pointing out, he does it with such an intensity and specificity that it's captivating.
Yeah. Have you seen
2049?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You a Blade Runner fan?
I like Blade Runner, but I wouldn't call myself I'm wearing a Jurassic Park hoodie. I'm a Jurassic Park fan. I don't have Blade Runner merch other than I think I have like the Funko Pops from the Blade Runner 2049 when that came out.
What?
I think I have Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, and
I want a Deckard bobblehead.
Yeah, I have one, but. I didn't remember his name was Deckard.
If they made a Funko Pop for it, Trevor Stevens probably has it.
He probably has it.
But I like Blade Runner. But when it comes to like the Ridley Scott like filmography, I'm an Alien boy. all day, every day.
Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with that either. Nothing wrong with that either. So that is actually going to bring us to our discards. Give me a second here to type in what I typed in.
So what are some of your honorable mentions?
Some of my honorable mentions. I have so many.
Before we do that, why don't you go ahead and give this a roll? We're gonna figure out what we're watching at the start of next
week.
week.
All typed up already?
I've been typing.
Okay, so I'll give it a roll. 3, 2, 1, rolled. 11.
11. I'm actually gonna. It's always fucking Joe. But Repo the Genetic Opera is gonna be our watch, and I am super excited. What do you mean, man? When was the last time you saw that?
That's fair. I wanted to watch Toys.
I mean, we can still watch Toys. So for listeners, right now, there's only one place you can watch Toys, and it's not going to cost you anything. Just go to YouTube. It's free with ads. Excuse me. Other than having a, I have a YouTube subscription, not a subscription.
Account.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't
Just
pay.
sign in.
I do. Make me clear.
Yeah.
I do not pay for fucking YouTube. Refuse. So yeah, you can just watch it. On our break, I looked it up and I was like, holy shit.
Refuse.
Fucking refuse. But next week,
dare you?
Next week we're gonna watch Repo. The next episode we're gonna watch Repo the Genetic Opera. So discards. Yeah. What was on your list that just didn't make it into the conversation today?
I have so many good ones.
Dude, fire it out.
Ex Machina.
Nice.
Yeah.
I really wanted to say that one at some point.
It's really
Alex
good.
Garland. I think that's the first one that he wrote and directed.
I think so.
Yes.
And to me, that's another Frankenstein evolution.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That's a weird movie because it's
Flatliners.
so isolating. It's so isolated. We'll get to
The
your
original
discard.
1984. Hey, they're discards. All right? I will say that.
I have order
I
here,
will
sir.
throw my 52 cards. It's called 52 pickup, or you just fucking take it or you don't.
So that's got to get a nod. You did a couple Philip K. Dick adaptations. I'm going to throw one into the ring. I really want to say, but I already had a Steven Spielberg movie on my list. I'm going to say Minority Report.
Minority Report, absolutely.
That was one I thought.
absolutely.
Like, I kept it off mine because I thought
I kept it off because we talked about it on another episode.
That's
so I was going to allow some. I was going to just allow some. We don't have. There's a loose rule. I personally don't like to always mention because if you're a repeat
I don't
listener,
want to repeat.
I don't want every episode to be like, God damn it, did he really recommend that one again?
There are so many movies that could have fit this that I've already talked about, but I've already talked about this.
That's where they came. Yeah,
fair.
and we'll get to that.
That's fair. So, and then
Pet Sematary.
I love Pet Sematary.
I do love Pet Sematary. That's
I love it so much.
It's one of mine.
But,
It's one of my honorables.
But I want to do at least one more. Like I said, I came up with a bunch of them.
Dude, fire them out.
You know what? Splice is a good one. I think
Splice
that's
came up in a lot of research. I didn't watch.
That's
I
one of
like
my
it.
honorable
Yeah.
mentions.
I've not seen Splice.
Yes.
I'd like to see Splice.
dude,
Yeah,
Splice
it's been
is good.
recommended to me a couple of times.
And then now I'm blanking, but bear with. I want to explain why I think it's a man playing God movie because I think it's so.
I'm here for it.
And people go like, "What the fuck?" But Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Okay.
I think
no,
it's
100%. 100%.
'Cause, like-
100%. Ultron is definitely.
Yeah.
And so is Tony Stark. at that
Exactly.
point.
And the
Anything Tony
duality
does.
of that.
Iron Man himself is he's only living because of
100%.
his
Yeah.
And then Ultron does the same thing because Ultron is a reflection of Tony.
But
and
he
then
takes it to the extreme.
Well, and
Right.
not only that, but you also have the end of Jarvis and the beginning of Vision.
And not to mention, isn't that also the introduction of the twins?
Yep.
So there's somebody else interfering with genetic testing.
So there's so much of that. And Ultron at some point decides to be the wrathful god and, turn a city into a meteorite. And then he starts talking about dinosaurs. And listen, whenever a 10-foot tall robot starts talking about dinosaurs,
You listen?
you listen, yeah.
Great choice. Another
Joe,
one of my
fire 'em
honorable
off.
mentions
Yeah.
would be The Fly.
So
that was on my list too.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I've been named off most of
I
my
know you've
honorable
been
mentions.
off script.
There is no script. Only you have a script, Brad. Okay. When David Bowie plays fucking Nikola Tesla, what was that one called?
Oh my God, that's
The Prestige.
The Prestige.
The Prestige.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
That's a good fucking pick. Dude, why didn't we talk about the Prestige?
forgot about
We're gonna find a reason to talk about
Sunshine.
Yo.
Sunshine is good. That's 100% what they're trying to do.
They're going to restart
God is
the
taking
sun.
away the sun, and
they
want to restart
failed
it.
once, and to the point, one of them thinks he's God and tries to, like, you can't restart the sun.
Yep.
I've already, like, yeah.
Oh, wait. Can I give two more?
Yes.
As a double. Please. Okay. Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
Yes,
I
dude,
have to
of
mention
course,
those.
yeah. And my last one, but we've already talked about this, the butterfly effect.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing God in his own life.
In his own life,
yes.
And other people's lives. Everybody that he affects, and he tortures them through it.
Yes.
So I had The Truman Show.
Nice.
While not scientific,
But
that
Ed
is
Harris is
man.
playing God,
They are manipulating his whole life.
Right.
Prometheus. Prometheus was one.
Oh, you had it. Okay.
I did have it.
I got nervous it wasn't going to
but I wasn't sure about it because it's not really. I was like, okay, what is this about? This is about other creatures creating man as opposed to man. But it is not
also-
God. It is not God creating man. So it's still there.
Man?
But we created androids, which David is. and then David creates.
But
So through all this
Oh, I
folklore, I'm
don't
led
want
to
to spoil.
believe that those are Goliath and we are David, and we've already we are part of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're just a smaller part of the
right,
genetic.
and I personally love Prometheus. I think I mean. You're always allowed to have your own opinion, but I think that some of the hate it started because it was a Ridley Scott quote unquote alien movie from the studio because he didn't want to make an alien movie ever again. And they're like, well, we want you to. And he was like, okay, then I want to do this where it's an alien story. Not an alien movie, so it's in the world of. But that's not how the studio marketed it. So people showed up. It wasn't a horror
they
movie.
were disappointed.
They were
and
expecting
I
an alien.
was pleasantly surprised.
Dude, it was such. But I had The Fly. I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right? Man completely kills man by coming up with a cure that doesn't cure shit. And it was a cure for cancer, I think. And then, isolated man. RoboCop about a dead cop brought back to life from a capitalistic company that then wants to sell their merch in a much more
that was
violent.
a dystopian Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some reason filmed in Houston.
Terminator is this is a long way around it, but the first
do you want Skynet? Because that's how you get Skynet.
that's how you get Skynet. Exactly. Thank you.
We're on our way there,
yeah.
I mean, more and more every day.
Would somebody just fucking kill Elon already? I'm sorry.
God.
Because he's not actually doing anything, but
he's promoting.
He's fucking funding the wrong side. Right?
Gattaca?
He is fucking.
Gattaca was on
Anakin.
there. So Gattaca is a movie with Ethan Hawke and Jude Law. And it is in a world where you and your partner are looking to have a child. But in this day and age, why do you want it to have defects? So you sit down with a counselor. This is what I want. I want blue eyes. And they genetically modify your child to perfection. He's not going to have any illnesses. He's going to be athletic. He's going to be smart, whatever you can afford to pay for. But the poor can't do that. But the poor who are genetically normal, they can't get the same job. So it's basically Ethan Hawke and Jude Law are on opposite sides of that. And they switch lives. And then the plot goes from there. The Watchmen.
Nice.
The Watchmen. I'd seen it come up and I passed it. I was like, The Watchmen doesn't qualify. And then I stopped. I was like, wait a minute.
It does. Miss Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan is 100% a result of his own curiosity. Now, he wasn't aiming to do
but he
anything
becomes
like that.
omnipotent, really.
Exactly. He becomes just shy of a god.
Are we
He's a
sure
demigod.
that's not God? Are you sure?
And is that not at least a man playing God?
At the very least.
At the very
it fits
least.
that
Maybe
way.
not in the same way as Frankenstein.
And every time you bring up Gattaca, I'm always reminded of the studio counterpart with Christian Bale, Equilibrium.
See, I for me, Equilibrium is more Fahrenheit 451.
Sure, but I mean, visually and aesthetically, they're both black and white. They both have the towering monoliths.
Oh man, Gattaca's a lot of deep reds, and it's like an evening out at a nice restaurant.
Okay, then I don't know why I don't assimilate these two, but
because
Equilibrium,
of dystopian futures.
The dystopian future. So in this one, instead of choosing the looks, they erase the emotions through a pill, right?
Right.
Which is also very akin to The Giver. Which was another.
So I've got two more on my list. One is a true story. It's a movie that I saw way back when I was in high school, and because back then it was harder to find movies, I had wanted to recommend it to people because I really fucking loved it. But it's
you could only do an internet search if your sister wasn't on the phone with her boyfriend.
But there's a movie called Lorenzo's Oil, and it is about Nick
dude,
Nolte.
throwback!
I've heard of this. So I haven't seen it, but
that's
I've heard
crazy.
of it.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad you guys have at least heard of it. So Nick Nolte plays a father.
My dad showed it to me in high school.
I think it's Nick Nolte and Susan Sarandon, but their child suffers from a disease that is so rare that there isn't any studies into how to cure it or to help maintain it. And I think if I remember correctly, it's one of those diseases that will just eventually kill you, like a short lifespan. So the movie's about them trying to find a cure themselves as just normal people. And I don't remember how it ends. I don't remember if the child lives or dies, but it was such a fascinating and heartbreaking story, but it fits right in here.
Lorenzo's Oil, yeah, dude. I remember that being powerful. It was like
so powerful. And then my last
I'm sorry, I just had a...
No, that's fine. I just forgot the word I was saying. Discard. My last discard was Limitless, which I think we've talked about on here before. The guy takes a pill and gives him Bradley Cooper gives a great smartness, and then
there's a spin-off show on Netflix or something like that. They went 1 or 2 seasons, and Bradley Cooper was in the finale or whatever. It's a good story, great story.
So this has been a great episode, Austin. This is your opportunity here to go ahead and pitch yourself and your sites to our listeners.
Where can they find you?
Any place on social that you would like people to connect, and any other websites or podcasts or things that you would like to turn their attention to?
Plug yourself, baby.
All right. So my name is Austin Torres. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any social media site as Austin M. Torres. I have a horror movie podcast called Would You Die? You can find that on Instagram and all the socials at Would You Die Show. And also a YouTube channel called Would You Die, where you can watch video versions of the podcast. My short films like Ice Cream, Best Day Ever, and The Blood Witch. Spider will be up there once it's done with its festival run. The podcast is actually going to go on a couple-month hiatus.
But there's episodes to listen to.
There's 146 episodes you can listen to.
And more in the works down the road. Nice.
Cool. I'm recalibrating the show.
Podcast is hard work. Yeah, sometimes you got to take a break to...
when you get back
keep
to
on
it,
track.
Invite us on. I'd love to participate.
Oh, dude, I would love to be on that. Would You Die?
And it's a lot. It's a fun shit.
That's a brilliant concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like we talk about our favorite horror monster or villains, right? So, like, say we pick the Xenomorph or Mikey My.
Why she run up the stairs?
And it's like we talk about why we love them, why we gravitate towards Freddy Krueger, right?
Yeah.
And then the episodes go all over the place, depending on who's against. Some episodes have been more analytical than academic. One of them devolved into like a fuck, marry, kill with Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and Mike. So it's a.
Like I say, I'm not marrying Freddy. Those 8
Oh yeah. But he'll make me laugh. Anyways,
he would make you laugh. Jason doesn't seem like he'd be a lot of fun at all, to be honest.
But yeah, I have a great time with that show. I've talked to so many guests on it, of all calibers, from like, my friend who's an English teacher, all the way to like Neil Marshall, who directed The Descent.
You had him as a guest?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, dude, Neil Marshall.
High five.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about how you did that.
Hell yeah.
Dude, that's a story.
Yeah,
that is a story.
We'll talk about that one off air.
Oh, yeah. It was a great story, but so I've been very lucky and fortunate that I've had a great run, and I'm retooling it just because, 146.
Yeah,
like,
time.
That's a milestone, baby.
Yeah.
It's tiring, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of work.
Well, we appreciate you being here, appreciate you reaching out and coming on the show. Joe, how can people get a hold of you?
They can hit me up on our email thing here that Brad will give out in a second, but you can find me on Instagram.
I'll always cover that. You always start with that.
Yeah, Brad's going to cover this part. So, but on Instagram, you can hit me up at chaotic_artisan or Joseph Sheldon Quick, anywhere in the world. That's the real me. IMDb, all that shit.
You can find me on Instagram at Beeford Clark. I'm also on Threads there, trying to figure that out. We'll see how that goes. You can get to the show on Instagram at ufostudio.detroit, and that is Instagram and Threads as well. We are on Facebook at Unorthodox Film Podcast. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and so on. Share this with your friends. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, I highly encourage you to subscribe and give us some feedback. Give us a rating. For a 5-star show, give us 5. If we're 1, let us know. Give us some comments. Let us know what we can do to help entertain you a little bit more. We also do our show, #SetLife. I'd recommend you listen to that if you haven't gotten caught up on with that. That is behind the scenes with Joseph and myself talking to friends of ours within the industry. We're going to have Austin on that on our next episode. So you'll be able to listen to a little bit more about what he's got going on. We do also sell merch.
Don't forget to hit up the stove.
Go to our website at ufpodcast.podbean.com, and you'll find links to the show as well as links to our store, the UFO Bazaar. And you can get hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, and things like that. It helps us put together the show. It helps us put together future film projects. We appreciate everything, and you get cool swag.
We got to keep this podcast going too. Yeah, and that swag though.
Join us next episode where we will be talking about Repo, the Genetic Opera, with our next guests, and who knows with what topics that they will help us come up with.
Hell yeah!
Thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.
This was a lot of fun.